Hello, this is Silas, and before I get into this, I just need to let you know that you are racist if you do not agree with what I am about to say. I am black, and therefore have been subjected on a day-to-day basis to the systematic racism that you are a part of. If you happen to identify as black as well, and still disagree, then you have internalized the hatred of yourself, which is a completely racist thing. You're probably not even to blame for that, but you still are racist. You may suffer no consequences for your racism, though, since only 3 out of every 15,000 racists are ever caught and held accountable. So at the time of me recording this, there's an ongoing scandal involving sexual assault in Hollywood. It started with Harvey Weinstein, a producer for Miramax, or the Weinstein Company, and has expanded to a bunch of people, and now there's talks of situations with pedophilia coming out in the upcoming weeks. These are things based off of rumors that have been going on in Hollywood for a long time. And there was a supporting campaign on social media where mostly females are encouraged to show support by using the hashtag #MeToo. This, I assume, is mostly for those that have had experiences of assault in their own life and that may want to support and encourage others who have yet to come out to do so and be heard. In the cases when an assault has occurred, I see no reason to object to the person reporting it and having the perpetrator held accountable to the utmost extent of the law. So why doesn't it happen? Why should anyone have to ask what is meant by assault? Is that hateful towards the accuser? Is it victim blaming? If by chance there's something I said above that you disagreed with and might disagree with later on, are you claiming that that is not enough for me to claim that you are a racist? So from things as public and far-ranging as cheating in a presidential campaign to as localized as a 2-year-old claiming that the dog was the one that ate the missing cake, when someone accuses another, it is just to ask for some proof behind the accusation. There's already a plan to have court cases in the aforementioned Hollywood scandal, and you can expect that to involve cross-examination of the accusers. This is a natural and expected process in law. I thought of this video in part due to seeing how someone that had accused a rapper decided to drop the accusations. They claimed that they could no longer deal with how the case was handled both by the police and the public. And this notification, this story was posted in social media, and someone asked about what sort of harassment from the public the accused had received. In this comment, they also pointed out that the rapper had been savaged by name in some locations, and as is customary, the accuser's identity had remained private. The original poster of the article said that they had seen some people in their social media sphere harass the accuser. Now, this is something I have seen often that gives me pause. I do not consider it harassment if they do not hear it. If the target that is being talked about, if the subject, does not actually hear what is being said, that is not harassment. So if you decided to, in private somewhere, make fun of me or speak ill of me, then are you really harassing me? If you personally think that all sub-Saharan African males are a subhuman species, that are prone to violence and have little control over their libidos, and you never tell a soul, is that harassment? If we actually meet in your day-to-day life and you treat me as if I'm an individual, if I'm worth judging by my actions, especially if I'm not in a group of people, then are you harassing me? You could still 100% believe that I am of a lesser race than your race. But if I came out and accused you of being racist, even though, as I said, you technically believe that your race is more superior to my race just by being that race, then everyone would still be completely justified in asking me to provide some proof to why you are racist. That, in fact, is just how reality works. So there's another part to this. What constitutes assault? Going back to that original example, if someone thinks that a comment in an online platform about someone who will likely never see it is harassment, then sexual harassment is considered a form of sexual assault. Then can I accuse that person of sexual harassment because I think they may have said something disparaging about me while texting a friend of theirs? I think most of you would say no, I cannot. How about something like wolf whistling? That's actually finable offense in some parts of France. Is that considered sexual assault? Now imagine this is a group of people. A group of females walks by a group of males, then a few males whistle. How would they prove which males were whistling at which women? Let's say there's some women in there who were attracted to some of those males, and they decided, oh no, I'm actually thankful for that. I'm not going to press charges. But then another woman in the group decided, okay, look, I think they were whistling at me. I find that to be offensive. Then they decide to press charges. But then which male are they pressing charges to? Let's say there was a younger male that actually knows one of the females in the group, and he was whistling at her. And anyway, you see where this is going. I think this is just an example of a society becoming so safe that they're just looking for crimes so they can defend the need of such a massive state that occur in many of these countries. For the betterment and continual of this civil society that we live in, it is important to identify what does or does not constitute assault. This will make it easier to know when it's happened, find the best ways to provide evidence for it, and to get the criminal who did the action their just punishment. I think by doing this, we can reduce the situation today where too many people get away with assault. Now, as questions are good, the next question to ask would be, how many is too many? So in that thread I discussed before, I saw the claim that 6 in 1,000 rapists do jail time. Now, this number should shock you, both if you believe it or realize that people can make this claim without providing supporting evidence. So imagine thinking that people get away with a crime that horrendous at that high of a rate. If I thought this world was that scary, then I probably would be literally shaking like some of these people do. Now, if I'm wrong about that, please provide some sources in the comments below, and I will check them out. So as I mentioned before with the discussion of what is harassment, then what is assault, then what goes forward, there's been a conflation of terms that has been going on in society. And I think these numbers might come from a study or studies that are done discussing what harassment is. Then harassment moves on to assault, and then assault moves on to rape, and then people start saying that 6 in 1,000 rapists do jail time. So these figures could also discuss repeat offenders, as most criminals are. For example, there could be 20 breaking-in entries in an area, and 20 people accused. So all these 20 people are arrested, and it is found that it was only 2 people breaking into 15 homes, and 5 go unsolved. So only 2 people see jail time out of these 20 people that were accused, and only 15 of the crimes are actually solved. So if I look at those stats and I say only 2 in 20 people that are accused of breaking and entering actually see jail time, then I'm technically being accurate, but it could be somewhat misleading to the actual level of people getting away with committing crimes. So I am almost as certain as can be that rape culture does not exist in the general world at this level of only 6 in 1,000 people who commit rape actually being caught and punished for it. I'll add again here that I stand to be corrected. If proof is provided to show that this 6 in 1,000 number is accurate, then I will continue to do what I can to get that number up to 1,000 out of 1,000. And I think the material I'm discussing in this video will get it up to the point where as many people that can be caught who do these crimes are caught. Now I'm going to give a callback to that example I gave where somebody has racist thoughts, but there's no actual proof of those racist actions. So what if it's a situation where a rape did occur, but the criminal bastard that did this, as unfortunately they sometimes can be, is a high-functioning psychopath that has people fooled? What if the authorities are also just not as capable as they are made to seem on many of these fantastical television procedurals? What if this horrible situation occurs and is an example of the evil that does exist in this world, where there are certain places, people, and things that will support and defend these human demons? Again, part of how I can wake up every day and be happy and just get along with my life is being confident that this is not the general nature of humans, but I am not saying it does not exist. I thought it existed at a much higher level and went and looked out for the evidence and have yet to find any to support it. So, in these cases, yes, a rapist can get away with their crime. Sometimes no actual proof is found for things that actually happened. However, the general claim that I mentioned before, the 6 in 1,000 people, doubtful that it applies to solely these situations of actual rapes. Okay, there's a habit that I also think should stop. At the point of the accusation, second an accusation is made, the victim survivor and the perpetrator criminal narrative is immediately adopted. So I'm nowhere close to a legal expert, but what would you think about expanding that anonymity thing, especially in cases where the accuser does not come out in public, to all parties involved in these cases? So it's harder to do this in the easy access of information time, but look how silent Hollywood has kept some possibly horrific material for so long. If people that popular and visible are able to keep these things under wraps, then it can be done at a lower level. And you can have a situation where there's some kind of non-disclosure thing, but if the person is found guilty, then it comes out and you expose it, and you can maybe encourage other people to come out if they themselves were assaulted. So for those that claim that we do live in a rape culture, Would a rape culture truly have a policy to protect the accuser, who is most often female? So this whole expansion of the anonymity to everyone involved would also be tough to do, since it would be likely that it would be one of the few crimes that actually does this. So if someone's arrested and the report is inconclusive, let's say somebody gets picked up from their house and they happen to be people who find out, oh, this person's arrested, you go ask the police and they say, oh, we can't really talk about why he's arrested, then someone can probably just assume that it was related to sexual assault or something sexual. So I'm thinking if this was done, they'd have to expand it to maybe a few other kind of laws, possibly including things like murder and other very violent and harmful crimes. Actually, considering for those people that value the presumption of innocence like I do, maybe throw in things like some misdemeanor level things like shoplifting, so people don't just automatically assume the worst if somebody does turn out to be innocent. This next thing has also been asked by many, and I also have this question for you. What is the appropriate treatment for those who are found to have fabricated the claims? Should they have to face half of the potential sentence? And what if the person, for example, blacked out and had a true case of false identification? They just were at an event, something happened to them, and then they woke up and somebody told them it was this other person, and then they accuse that person without thinking they actually did something wrong. And then going back to that, oh, they should be given half thing, if you get to a point where somebody is being thrown in jail for half the time that somebody who actually committed a crime would do it, that also doesn't quite fit, since that punishment, those amount of years or whatever it would be, are actually designed to punish for the certain crime that this person fabricated and accused someone of, but they never actually did commit that actual crime. So this is all in all just a horrific situation. So when discussing incarceration and other forms of punishment, there's a difference between accused and guilty. That being said, that number, that discrepancy, the people that do get away, is still very concerning. There are mitigating circumstances to many of these situations. So there are situations where somebody has committed a rape and the authorities arrest the right person, have the evidence for it, but even in that case, or even before the proof of the court of law, they could be plea deals to other crimes that the person committed in addition to this rape. And then that person would be incarcerated, but I'm not quite sure if that goes down as them being incarcerated specifically for sexual assault. So this is one of the few situations where I see females and males on the side of punish as many people as possible, even if some innocent people are caught up into it. Now this again, thankfully, goes against the claim that there is a rape culture that we live in. So I think there's a lot going on in this current paradigm shift that we are in. Males and females interact with each other in untested ways. It is really rather novel to have an environment where you can openly date multiple people without any supervision of friends, family, or parents. People are currently testing out their boundaries, and societies are trying to catch up to what is or is not permissible. Now, with that being said, an unfortunate thing that has happened with all these high-profile hoaxers, there's this tendency or this urge to, or this temptation to just disbelieve people who come out with accusations. Especially since, to my knowledge, these people that had these accusations have gotten away with little to no legal repercussions. I maintain that it is important to question the accused and the accuser. These are issues that are serious enough to get it right. It is uncomfortable and something I would not want to go through, but I still advise that it should be done. For example, take something like chemotherapy. I wouldn't advise that you take it, but if you have cancer, which is horrible, and the doctor suggests you take it, I would say, yeah. If I came out and said only 5 kidnappers out of 1,000 missing children cases are brought to justice, what would that mean about kidnapping? Could you then say that we live in a kidnap culture? Or would you instead ask me about how many kids actually came home on their own, or had just wandered off, or were hiding somewhere, or ran away, and other kind of related questions? Now, in situations where there actually is a kidnapping, and the kid is recovered and found and brought back, would it be inappropriate for the police or the authorities to start asking the kid, okay, they ask the kid, maybe, where were you walking when this happened? Who were you with? Had you talked to somebody before? Had you told people you were going to go in this area? This person that kidnapped you, had you dealt with them before? Had you dealt with them when other adults were around? Had you dealt with them only on your own? Did you tell them things about your personal schedule? This would not be victim blaming in this situation. This would be trying to protect that child and other children that might fall into this situation again. This is trying to establish a pattern to understand how crimes happen and how future ones can be prevented. This line of questioning would just be a natural process of crime fighting. So there are several ways to rectify this issue, or to deal with this issue, and here are a few. If there truly is no trusting the genders or each other, then whether it's rape or racism, should there be as much segregation in public as possible? Divide the workplace, transportation, entertainment venues, everything by gender. Similar to how it's done in some Muslim-majority countries where, for example, I heard this in some video where somebody was saying that they have special shopping hours for women only. And they have certain areas or certain malls where males are only allowed to go there if they're accompanied by their wife and children. Actually, this isn't only Muslim-majority countries. I think this has started happening in some places in Scandinavia or Europe where they have pools and swimming hours which are only female only or things like this. Or I think even in India and maybe even Japan, they have female only carriages and subways and things like that. Female only parking spaces I've seen. So this kind of segregation is starting to happen. Do you guys think this is positive? So another option is to go with surveying everything. Essentially, all private interactions will be surveyed by someone. So make sure everything's documented with contracts beforehand and video and audio during the action. I recall some time back hearing about this app where if you're going to engage with somebody, let's say you have these dating apps like Tinder, which is pretty much a hookup app where somebody goes on there, you match with somebody, you meet, and then you go out and date and have sexual interactions or whatnot. So they have this one app where it was something like you record somebody consenting to sexual intercourse or sexual contact with you beforehand, and this program saves it, and then if there's a situation of an assault or problem happening after the occasion, that company will release that data to the authorities. Then the authorities will be able to corroborate whether or not that the person said yes. There were some complaints to this from some feminist groups or some female groups, so that app, I don't know actually what happened to it, if it actually came to fruition. But this could head towards some Orwellian sort of future. People might be thinking, okay, this is a Big Brother type thing. It could also just be society coming to the realization that what we sometimes consider to be nosy neighbors and overbearing parents actually is a valuable part of how we interacted, especially when it came to what we consider personal matters. It really is a thing to see how people are now very public with things that were once private and very private with things that were once public. It could have more to do with just the scope of things where I'm not necessarily being able to map this onto the smaller communities of the past. So I've personally had things happen to me that have been hard to admit. And I'm glad to have more people in my life today that I am comfortable discussing certain things with. I have also had the experience of being falsely accused of things that I did not do, but found somewhat hard to prove that I did not do. And I was glad that there were a few people who were able to vouch for me at those times. So sexual assault is a very important situation, dealing with great evils. I do not think that we should apply the see, hear, or speak no evil approach to it, but instead ask questions so we can better identify the villains and prevent future evil. So that's the end of the video today, and the illustration I was working on during this video as I was playing is something to do with 1984, and somewhat related to this with the whole Orwellian situation, and also a previous video I did called Big Brother's Not Watching, and That Is the Problem. I'm thinking there's something behind this whole idea that we now live in the information age, yet so many people aren't able to actually communicate with people in their day-to-day life, or they feel alone, or they feel they don't have people to talk to, which is a very sad situation. And then now you can think of this Orwellian situation where I think in 1984 there wasn't a high prevalence of crimes and things like that because pretty much everything was organized and done for you by Big Brother, by this overreaching, overarching kind of state power. And you see a kind of situation where some people in society are really afraid of what's going on and they're just demanding that somebody else protect them. And then some people are saying, okay, these people need to have more responsibility or let us deal with what we're doing in our day-to-day lives. And I think the more there is this perceived person that from outside they can come out and save you from this, it kind of lessens the chance that people are going to have to actually build up these connections and build up the personal ability to protect themselves from some of these evils that exist in the world. So let me know what you guys think about this video, about the illustration. There's going to be links below to a store where you can buy some of these designs and other things. And like, share, and subscribe. Till next video, this is Silas. Goodbye.